I feel like a lot of Disney is like they say it's the don't say gay bill. No, it's actually a don't say grooming bill. Yeah, they said don't say grooming, and we took that personally. Yeah, I feel the lady doth protest too much. If you're a teacher in Florida, and I'm just gonna have to pack up and leave if I can't groom these kids. That's a win. Well, that's the blonde meme of the guy saying your terms are acceptable to us. Anyway, click links for Odyssey, Bit Chute, join the Telegram, or join this channel or support channel, copy the various other links. Telegram and Gab is where the base content heads out. So here's the thing with this whole Disney snafu that is just kind of continuing to roll downhill. Disney, at this point, they're in a very strong position. They're almost too big to fail, almost unstoppable, almost. The thing is, there's people on the left, you can tell on Twitter, where people are at least vaguely where they are with some of their other tweets and with their icons and stuff like that. If rainbow flags and flag of Ukraine, that kind of stuff. And there's other little ways to tell kind of where people are coming down on this on social media. So it's not just the further right people who are against this. There's a lot of moderate of the bell curve, center of the bell curve people, whether it be slightly left or right, who are looking at this Disney stuff and they're not on board with it. So yeah, Disney is a huge powerhouse, but where people's kids are concerned, people are justifiably a little bit cautious on. And the thing is, there's a lot that's going on all simultaneously. So Disney and the sociopathic, I don't even know if you can get in focus legally, sell that t-shirt. Man, it might be all right. I don't know if the use and likeness, but it's like, if Disney sues you, what are you going to do? Anyway, so Disney and this sociopathic cult of narcissism. So I saw the Fourth Age video last night, RJ of the Fourth Age, and he mentioned something like that the further left you go, you start crossing into a borderline personality disorder with narcissistic traits, and then if you keep going, you'll go off into sociopathy and psychopathy, which I have seen expressed very clearly, very well on Twitter. There's that bell curve, and the broad spectrum, the center of the bell curve. There's a lot of people are fine with the rainbow flags. Live your own life as long as you're not intruding on others. And the rainbow flag is Roy G. Biv, right? Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. And then there's the other flag, which is I think it's a white center, and then it has, what do you call it? Mirror image, bisymmetrical mirror image of like a light pastel pink and blue kind of. You would kind of think of those colors as baby colors a little bit. And that's the T in the BLT. They have that flag. And people with that flag on Twitter are out of their fucking minds. And they're very loud and outspoken, but they're also a small part of Twitter, but they are very, very much overrepresented in this dialogue where you have literally people with rainbow flags who are trying to kind of divest themselves, whether they're part of the LGB, which is lesbian, gay, bisexual, but they're not part of the QT part, which is the queer trans part, because they're starting to look at that and go, this is kind of like you have to cut some things loose that are just so far out there. And there's a lot more to it. It's kind of difficult to go into on YouTube, where there's a bell curve for even the LGB, loose roughly the BLT community. There's going to be bell curve with that, and the T is going to be on one side of the bell curve, but it appears to just be going further and further out there, because it's kind of a situation where kids get a hold of something and they want attention and they mimic. And there are more adults in the other part of the spectrum of the BLT community who they know, we were all kids once also. Back in the 80s, I'm sure you'd see Mike Miller wearing a Michael Jackson jacket with one glove or something. So you know what kids were like at one time, and you know that it's just probably just a fad and you're going to grow out of it. It's not a fad, Dad. This is who I am. This is my personality. Yeah, the whole zipper thing, it's just a fad from the 80s. It's going to end about 1987. And then when it ends suddenly. All those jackets are just, those pockets not going anywhere. Now, if the pockets went somewhere, that's kind of something. But, and the single glove, it's like, that was probably not going to fly on anyone other than Michael Jackson. So what you have with a lot of the younger community, and it's like, you have to look at it. Even as a kid, you got to look around. You think like, is this thing? Is this something that only? Even when I was a kid, like I was aware of adults were probably going to make the more reasonable decisions. But even when you're a kid, you got to look at something like you're into something, and is it something that only other kids are into? Then logically, you're probably going to grow out of it. Which there's that meme about the participation class or trophy of generation of people. That's real, because there are a lot of people who are just far whacked out in La La Land with a lot of very hippy-dippy parents or parent, unfortunately, who are just kind of accepting of this type of weirdness that is taking part through, or running through some parts of America. So you get people who are kind of found a way to, like Dave Chappelle said, shortcut things to join the BLT oppression hierarchy. You simply say that you are a QT. Now you're special and unique. And I literally saw a TikTok teacher from Libs of TikTok say that. Zur introduced herself as here's something cool and unique about me. I am a trans, non-binary, furry, otherkin, whatever. So this is a teacher who was telling her students on a Zoom call, who she's attracted to or something. And it's like, yeah, most students, let me say all students you don't need to know that about your teachers, no matter how old you are. It just shouldn't come up. It's like, oh, well, what if I want to talk about my partner? You don't need to. You're not missing anything. The kids aren't missing anything if you don't talk about your partner. That's a reasonable accommodation to say, okay, just don't talk about your partner. Don't talk about anyone you're with. Don't talk about any of that kind of stuff. And, also, you don't need these blue-haired weirdos. It's like, well, that's public school. You're not really you're going to have a difficult time keeping them, blue-haired weirdos with nose rings from teaching your kids. It's like that's on the school board and I guess the superintendents, however that works. So the only way to do that is like you've got to join the school board yourself and take part. And it's like you want to ban people with blue hair, nose ringed weirdos from teaching kids. Again, the meme of the blonde guy saying yes, just yes. We want people to look professional. You could have like a professional appearance would be required, and then you could describe that with. Like the military does, what hairstyles are acceptable and things like that. Anyway, so when she was talking to her students on Zoom and she said, this special and unique thing about me, it's like, well, that tells you the story right there. She was just a chick before she put on the clown makeup, or a woman in desperate need of attention. My point is, there's this sort of mentality behind Disney. It's on this one-way slippery slope that is just getting steeper and steeper. If you ask them where they will stop with this slippery slope, they will deflect from the question, which they love doing on Twitter if you try to ask them a concrete question. Anyway, so for Disney, there's no path forward for Disney to reverse course. More importantly, they don't want to. Disney is a globalist Bolshevik propaganda machine. They would burn the company down before they stop with the woke. They are planning on generational brainwashing, and they have these insane teachers to help them. The multimedia company Disney is one form of propaganda. The teachers are the other form. And between them, they're accounting for about 90% of the impact on your kid. Unless, heaven forbid, you homeschool, which is the path forward. Because even, honestly, some private schools are fairly woke. Now, Catholic schools, various Christian schools, you can take those on a case-by-case basis. There's some that are traditional, and there's some that are not. There's some Christian schools that are also woke, which is like, how the hell does that work? I don't know. But like some of the expensive private schools are very well woke. And you're like, wait, we're paying like $80,000 to put some kid through the school, and you're teaching them this insane nonsense. You're better off with a private tutor. It's like get some neighborhood kids together and, have a mom and everyone chip in. It's like just it's not that hard to teach kids. You just have to stay ahead of the kids. Anyway, so what's going on with Disney is they're going to lose some of the older audience because this is just a bridge too far for a lot of people. But they'll plan on getting the younger, newer, woke audience because they have these audiences who's awful being brainwashed in schools with these blue-haired weirdos. Disney is gambling on winning the culture war, or at least the apathy of the lazy moderates, the center of the bell curve, or in the right of center, who just want the bread and circuses. And the thing is, there are some flies in their witch's cauldron. Even the, maybe I should have made like a Fantastic Four, or not Fantastic Four. What's the Fantasia reference from 1940? The thing is, even the moderate left isn't really not into grooming kids. That is a far left Marxist policy. And it absolutely is a far left Marxist policy because they're literally doing it right now. And there's not a whole lot of people who are standing up and talking about it. Florida had to pass a law to limit grooming to like over the third or fourth grade or something. That is a country that is already lost. No, blue-haired weirdos should not be teaching kids. Most of them are narcissists with sociopathic tendencies. The only reason they go into teaching is to make TikTok videos about what they're teaching their kids. I mean, if you told these teachers, if you looked at these teachers, if you tested them, I think they would come up on the spectrum of sociopathy. As long as they get attention, they don't care what happens to the kids. They literally can't empathize with other people. That's one of the aspects of being on the far end of the borderline personality disorder is your empathy decreases. Even wokish left-wingers are not too into having their kids groomed. The thing is, I don't think people realize how deep the issue goes, though I will say people are slowly starting to figure out exactly how deep this issue goes. Disney is tied into a lot of things, and obviously the schools. So you've got, pop culture and schools. It's like, it's deep and it's widespread, but it's also nothing that you can't do without. They go, oh, look at all these companies Disney owns. It's like, yeah, there's nothing. Oh, you're never going to drink Sprite again? You're never going to watch ESPN and Hulu? Yeah, those are easy things to give up, or whatever their subsidiaries are. You got to change a lot to fix this, and it's not like Netflix, the cuties thing, where people may not have heard about it, or they can ignore it, or they could cancel it. But it's it's a service that you can do without. It's just one tiny little streaming service. It's not a big deal. Disney and her subsidiaries are huge. Disney will probably be fine. They're sitting on, I don't know how much in cash, and they have different cash flows. And they're like, yeah, the stock's taking a little bit of a hit, but that's not realized yet. But it brings attention to Disney, the teachers, what's going on in the schools. And to be fair, so did the WooFlu in general, because you started to have Zoom calls and parents started to see what's going on with the schools. It brings attention to cultural Marxism, Saul Alinsky and Moses Mordecai Levy, Karl Marx, the Frankfurt School, Bolshevism, a lot of very important issues that the normie is just not well versed on, or they're well versed on what the teachers told them about. Oh, in 1914, like, yeah, that's one side of the equation. Let's look at the other. What happened in Ukraine? Oh, you mean today? No, not today. What happened a few decades ago? Anyway, it's to the point where people need to look at Hollywood in total and realize that it is all Bolshevik globalist propaganda. That's kind of the point of it. I don't know when you want to say it. It was a sliding scale of when it got taken over, but it did definitely get taken over. And the thing is, even you can go back and look at World War II movies, and you can see some of the bizarro propaganda slip in. But most people back then thought, oh, it has a purpose. They're trying to get people to get along, and then you realize, like, yeah, they're just never going to stop. So, do they all drink the blood of the innocent and dance to Moloch in a celebration of dark forces? What's that? Oh God, what is it out in is it in Sonoma Occidental? What's that that campsite they have out there? I forget what it is. Probably just doing a lot of cocaine and hookers. So the thing is, all that kind of like deeply weird, creepy stuff. No, the useful idiots don't do that kind of stuff. But the string pullers do, because they absolutely do worship Lucifer. people are going to learn how tight the connection is between these mega companies, these NGOs like Disney, and then social media companies like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram are. They absolutely will work together to go to bat to suppress certain stories and elevate other stories. They would have us live in Disney, Google ruled America like we don't already. I mean, de jure as well as de facto. Disney, Google America if they could. And that's happening in the very near future. There's already plans. These NGOs are discussing it. You can search the GPPP. It's a global partnership where essentially they're trying to do that. They want NGOs to have representative powers, control of government bodies, unelected elected power. It's just as bizarre as it sounds. Like, that's not really a nation. It's like, well, yeah, America, Canada, Australia, Western Europe are not nations anymore. They're changing from nations into commercial zones ruled by these, BlackRock, Vanguard, Google, Facebook. And, people think of Google, Facebook, Disney, and all these other big companies. And you go, yeah, it's actually want to focus on BlackRock and Vanguard as the bigger guys. They will have you... They want one narrative coming out and one narrative only. And, it's going to take a little bit of noticing to take a look at this and change things. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys all next video.